All right, if I could have your attention, please. It's been a great day. I love learning and growing. I love being around people who have positive mental attitudes and are encouraging. This has been one of those days that's filled all of us up to the brim. We have one last speaker, and sometimes, you save the best for last. I guess today might be that case. Michael McCleave is the Associate Director of Leadership at James Madison University, and has been both formally and informally studying the subject of leadership for over 35 years. After working for several different universities and even having his own business, Michael has found that working at JMU is a perfect fit for him. I have been there to James Madison University. It's a beautiful place. He often tells people that his personal and professional passion is leadership, because he draws on the knowledge he gained from his undergraduate degree in philosophy from Brigham Young University and his graduate degree from Indiana University in higher education almost every day. Excuse me. But ask him what he uses most when helping others become better leaders, and he'll tell you that what he learned was when he became an advanced accredited DISC consultant. He says it's even more valuable than either one of his college degrees. I certainly agree with that. In his spare time, Michael volunteers with his church and helps out with the Boy Scouts of America. He also supports his wife of 38 years, who has her own small business of fiber arts and handmade silver jewelry. He's the father of 3 daughters and 1 son, and loves spending time with his 10 grandkids. Today, Michael's going to be sharing with us how he sees leadership through the lens of DISC. Please give a warm welcome to Michael McCleave.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Rome, on that wonderful introduction. And thank you to all who are staying late this afternoon here with us today to learn just one more time something that will be of value in your life. Now, I do know that it is late in the afternoon, and we have been sitting in front of computer screens for a long, long time. Yesterday, today, there's a lot going on. I'll tell you what, I learned something from a friend of mine that helps a lot. When you get that eye fatigue from staring at a computer screen, well, if you think about when you get fatigued with your muscles, one of the things that they say could help is some nice, relaxing, stretching yoga exercises. But for your eyeballs, because you're staring at a screen for so long. So it kind of looks like this, rising sun and the eyes go up. Or maybe it's falling leaves and the eyes go down. Well, it could be an eastern sunrise as your eyes go to the right, or maybe it's a western sunset and your eyes go to the left. But then we have lots of fun, and it's the merry-go-round as they go all over the place. If you would please, put your face right up close to your camera so we can see your eyes and enjoy some eyeball yoga with me for a moment or two. Now, you have to stretch your eyes really wide to make it work really, really well. So rising sun, the eyes go up, and falling leaves and they go down. And we'll hold it there for a moment, and then let's go with an eastern sunrise. Eyes wide, and let's go with a western sunset over to the other side. And merry-go-round. All right, we'll mix it up just a little bit, not in the same order. Just stay with me. We'll get it right. Rising sun, falling leaves, eastern sunrise, falling leaves, rising sun, merry-go-round. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we'll start. That's probably enough for us today, but I hope you got a little bit of exercise and, mix it up just a little bit and have a little fun as we get started this afternoon. I'm excited to be with you today because, as Dr. Rome shared, I'm going to share with you leadership through the lens of DISC. And what do I mean by that? Leadership through the lens of DISC. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to warn you right out of the gate. I tend to invite people to participate. And I'm going to have you participate with me today, maybe through chat or unmute your mic and share a brief opinion. Oh, I promise I won't embarrass you. I won't ask any hard questions. I won't expect perfect answers. Nobody's grading papers here. And I'll do my best to give you a little advanced warning. Let's start out this way with an opportunity to do that very thing. If you would, think of a leader who, well, maybe it's somebody that you know in your life. Maybe it's somebody that you have never known before, but just think of a leader. And then if you would, who came to mind? Take a moment, open up that chat and tell me who you thought of. You know, as you're thinking of putting those names in the chat, who came to my mind? Perhaps MacArthur came to your mind. Or maybe it was King Henry. Oh, or possibly the leader that came to your mind was Gandhi. Now, I'm seeing some answers like my grandpa and Donald Trump and Dad and my father-in-law. I find it interesting that nobody said me. Now, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean actually me, but I didn't see anybody put yourself in that box just exactly yet. And that's an interesting standpoint because I see all of you as small business owners leading, influencing, impacting people's lives, as husbands, as fathers, as brothers, as sisters, as friends, as neighbors, as people in the world that we live in today. We influence and impact others' lives. We are all leaders in some way. But the question might be, for those that you thought of that are leaders, or those that we may yet see who lead, we might just ask, how did they lead? My goal is to help you see how each of these leaders were incredibly effective, even though they all lead in very, very different ways. See, I've been studying, learning, figuring out leadership ever since I was a young whippersnapper in college. And if only I had a time machine, maybe like the DeLorean from Back to the Future. Wow, that would be so sweet. A time machine that could take me back and I could spend 20 minutes with my college graduating self. Man, I would share with my college graduating self what I'm about to tell you, because it would have changed my life so much sooner, like I hope it's going to change yours. Since I don't have a time machine and I can't go back, I am going to tell you the 3 insider secrets that I've learned over my lifetime. Insider secret number 1, learn DISC. You'll be a better leader. Now, if you want to take a moment and put that in your handout, I'm going to pause here and ensure you that I'm going to go into more details with each one of these secrets to give you insights, to give you perspectives, to help you better understand. Insider secret number 2, use DISC to help others lead better. I guarantee you, when you understand and use the concepts and principles of DISC, you will be able to see people work together better. They'll have less conflict. They will be more productive and they'll bring joy into the team. It's amazing what happens when you use what you know about DISC. And number 3, don't try this on your own. Get a coach. Wow, if I had known that so many years ago, I came to understand now that you don't know what you don't know. Others know what you don't know. You can know what others know when you open yourself up to coaching. So those blind spots, the things that you don't know about, they can be fixed. They can be patched over. You can get that insight, but rarely does it ever come on your own effort. It comes from others. It comes from coaches. Now, I want to get into some details and some depth. I'm going to come back and cover each one of these 3 insider secrets. Let's dive right in here in the time that we have. Insider secret number 1, learn DISC. You'll be a better leader. So the basic concepts start way, way, way back because, ever since 444 BC and Empedocles was studying human behavior and coming forward into time to William Marsden in 1926, and even Dr. Robert Rome today and others like him have been studying human behavior. And they've really come down to us understanding today 2 major concepts that I'm going to share with you today. Of all the many, many nuanced and subtle and deep things we can learn about DISC, these 2 are fundamentally the foundation. We start with this one, that the one side and aspect of people is there are some people who are outgoing and faster paced, and there are other people who are reserved and slower paced. We call this the motor. It's how people use and expend and get energy in their lives. It's the speed and rate at which they do things. It's the way in which they make decisions and what they require before they do those. Now, on your handout, you're going to see that box in the middle And up in the top box, you could put that phrase, outgoing, faster paced. As you see on the screen, I've got it circled. You can write that in, or if you're using your computer with the handout, you could type it in that fillable PDF. But I mentioned there was the other side. There's the outgoing, faster paced side. There's also that reserved, slower paced side. You can put that down there at the bottom, in that bottom long box. Now, this fundamental concept is the first foundational thing we need to know. The second thing that all of those who have studied human behavior and that we find in the model of human behavior in DISC is the other continuum. That is, some people first find themselves oriented to tasks, whereas other people find themselves oriented to people. Now, this is what we call the compass. It's where people spend their first focus. It's where their comfort zone typically is. And it's their default mode when they go into action. As you'll notice on your handout, there on the far left, there's a box there where you could type in the word task. Now on the screen, I've got it vertical down the side, but yeah, you can type it straight across as long as you got the label there. That's what's important. And on the right side, you can put people. And this helps you see the 4 different areas that materialize when we put together these 2 fundamental concepts. One, the motor, and the other, the compass. Now, watch carefully as to what happens when these 2 things come together, because as they come closer and closer and closer together, and then they join, we get the DISC model of human behavior. Outgoing and faster paced and task oriented for our D. Outgoing and people oriented for our I. People oriented and slower paced and reserved for our S. And reserved and slower paced and task oriented for our C. Let's dive a little bit deeper into each one of these 4 specific types of personality. We're not going to go really, really deep with the time today and the 3 secrets I want to share with you, but let me give you these inside tips. You see, that D-style personality, the one that's outgoing and is also task-oriented, they're driven. They're doers. Whereas if they're people-oriented, like the I, being outgoing, they're inspiring and they're influencing. Now, I'm going to pause there because you could fill in the blanks on your handout with those words to get some descriptions, or you might just want to write those in the middle of the boxes for each one of those quadrants. Ds, they like to get things done. They're all about taking action and making it happen right away. Those who are inspiring and influencing on the I style, they love people and they're out and about all kinds of people. But with the S, being more reserved and the slower pace, they're supportive of people and they're sensitive. They pay attention to feelings and people who are caring. The sensitive and supportive S's can really build and bring a team together. If we move to the quadrant on the bottom left, we see the C types who are cautious as they think carefully and they wonder and ask lots of questions because they want to be competent. They're going to take their time to make sure they get things done right and get them correct. This basic model is something that we can all really easily grasp, but the nuances and the subtleties are incredibly deep. And there's some guidelines that my company has set up for you, and I'm happy to share those with you. I've got a guide that I'm willing to send out to you if you'll send me your email address. I'll bring it up on the screen at the end of the presentation, but I'll share it with you now. If you send to Michael at blackboxleadership.com, that's Michael at blackboxleadership.com, we'll be sure and get that guide right out to you. Now, let me get on to the second insider secret. That is to use DISC so that you can help others be better leaders. This gets us into seeing leadership through the lens of DISC specifically. You know, in all the years that I've been studying leadership, I've seen that there's 2 fundamental key responsibilities of leaders. The first one of those is to get the job done. And as you see there on the second page of the handout, it's things like a product to sell or create the group has to get done. Or maybe they've got a problem to solve, or a party to plan, or a service project to organize, or something's got to be done. And leaders make sure that the job gets done. The second key responsibility is leaders need to keep the group together. Without the group, the job doesn't get done. We're talking about followers or subordinates or employees or children, even if you want to take it into the family setting, volunteers. They're all needing to be a team in order to create or produce or solve or get something done. Now, when we think about these two fundamental responsibilities, I bet your mind is already racing right back to the track we were just on when you're thinking, wait, I just saw something about, it sounded sort of like tasks and people. You're absolutely right. The compass in the DISC model gives us this same perspective. And that's why through my experience about learning about leadership, I've always noticed that every leader will naturally focus, and that's the key word, naturally focus on your handout, you'll see it there, on one more than the other. You see, their focus is either going to be first task-oriented, not that they'll ignore the other entirely necessarily, but they'll first turn to their tasks. Others who are more people-oriented are likely to focus on keeping the group together. Now, this may be a little nuanced and difficult to grasp at first, but let me tell you a story so that we can understand this all better. You see, my father-in-law, Harry McHugh, served in the intelligence division of the United States Army during World War II. He was actually on board the ship and standing in the very room on the USS Missouri on September 2nd, 1945, when the Japanese surrendered to the United States under General Douglas MacArthur's leadership. My father-in-law would not talk much about that moment, except to say how impressive and commanding MacArthur really was. I learned that after World War II, when he was leading in the beginning of the Korean War in 1950, MacArthur was described as being hell-bent on chasing the retreating North Koreans to the Chinese border. Nothing would stop him. Not orders from Washington, not intelligence reports that Mao's troops were building up in the area. He was also given titles in his lifetime like the Lion of Luzon and Hero of the Pacific. You know, with descriptions and nicknames like that, what dominant personality do you think MacArthur had? Now, just for fun, Bumi, I'm going to ask you, if you would, to open up your mic and unmute yourself for a moment. And if you'd be willing to offer a guess, what personality style might have been General MacArthur's dominant style from your perspective?
Oh, I think it would be a D.
Oh, that's a fabulous answer. Yes, you see, he was out front. As you see in this little graphic, that black dot in the front of the room, if you will. Yes, those with a D dominant style, they're out front. They're doing something. They're directing others. The way they see things, their focus is on results and productivity. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Bumi. I appreciate that very much. Now, it's easy for people to point to a military leader and connect them with the D-style personality. But let me take you back in time to October 25th in the year 1415. Imagine the skies are filled with dark gray rolling clouds that will almost certainly pour down buckets of rain on the already muddy and boggy fields of France. 5,000 troops of the English army stand in this dismal looking weather on what should have been a day of celebration. After all, it was the Feast of St. Crispin, a day on which the English honored two brothers who were Christian martyrs. But on this particular Feast of St. Crispin's Day, these English soldiers were facing a French army of perhaps 20,000, though some historical estimates suggest it might have been as high as 50,000. Either way, I love the way the 1989 movie, Henry V, portrays this scene. It's fantastic. It shows the king getting right down into the middle of his men at their level and gestures for them to gather around him as he delivers a speech that inspires, motivates, and gives them visions of glory. They'll live to tell the tales of the battles they're about to fight. Then he raises them up to his level as he says, "We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds blood with me shall be my brother." Can you imagine the king inviting the common man to be his brother? Of course, we really have no idea if those were King Henry V's actual words, but it is how Shakespeare wrote about that battle when the measly 5,000 English troops defeated the 20,000 plus troops of France in France. But I'm willing to bet that you know, or at least have some good ideas about which DISC personality style might have been most dominant in that moment for King Henry. Michael K., if you'd be willing to open up your mic and share with us your thoughts on this question. Do you think King Henry was more focused on his people or on the task of winning the battle in that specific moment?
He was focused on his people.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because that's what I saw happening as well. He was right in the middle of them all. The I-style personality, they're in the middle, involved with people and inspiring others. They're going to focus on inspiring greatness and building a marvelous team. Now, I'm kind of curious, has anyone here heard about Mahatma Gandhi? If I could see it by show of hands, just hold your hand up and wave. Great. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. In just a moment, John, I'm going to ask you to open up your mic, and Nicole, if you would as well, to share with us just one thing that you know or believe about this leader. But first, I'll remind us all that Gandhi was from India. Though he was educated in Great Britain, he learned the law and he returned to his land in hopes of helping his fellow citizens to be freed from the oppression of the British. Now, I'm not going to go any further, but John, tell me, what's one thing you know about or believe about Gandhi?
Selfless.
Thank you, John. And Nicole, how about you?
The word that came to mind is peace.
Oh, I love that. That's fabulous. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. You know, in the 1982 movie, Gandhi, starring Ben Kingsley in the title role, it's an absolutely epic presentation that shares that Gandhi never was elected to office. He was never appointed to lead an organization. He wasn't a military leader, and he did not ever head a religious group. But yet, because of what Gandhi did, he lived among the people. He did the things that they did. He cared for them, and he was comforting and compassionate. And because of that, he brought enough pressure on the British government that India was set free. Now, we see S's in the back, supporting, serving. We see them helping others and building harmony. But let's not forget about how easy it might be to overlook the C personality. You know, it's possible that many of us don't think of a reserved, slower paced person being as a leader, because they're probably from the side. They're over there carefully observing, cautiously guiding others. Their focus is on being accurate and getting things done right. You know, as it turns out, I have to have a very high dominant C style personality. And I've had the opportunity to lead from that particular perspective. I can remember in my family once, my wife asked me if I'd help the kids set the Thanksgiving table for dinner. You know, all the trimmings, all the trappings, a great big fancy dinner feast. So I brought my 8-year-old daughter over and I got down on her level and I said, Alicia, we've got 14 people for dinner. You know, the littlest kids always sit at the side table over there. And of course, the 4 adults are going to sit in the big tables at the big chairs, and all the rest of you kids will sit at the table around that. Can you set the table in the way it needs to be set? And she said, yeah, Dad, I can do that. I said, great. You see, I didn't exactly tell her what to do. I gave her information and I made sure she had it. And she went out and did the job herself. Now, I'm going to finish up here with the third secret and help you see some of the things that I see. Number 3, if you'll remember, was get a coach, because DISC is challenging. While it looks simple with the simple things I shared with you here today, there's so much more to learn about yours and theirs and how to adjust. There's the style. There's how to know what their strengths are. There's their needs. There's communication styles to understand. And when you're looking at leadership, it's not just getting the job done and keeping the group together, but how do you use DISC to get better results? Create an energizing, fun workplace, enhance teamwork through better relationships, and reduce mistakes and increase productivity. You know, if you'll remember those 3 insider secrets to learn DISC, to be a better leader, to use DISC to help others lead better, and get a coach, I have an absolute certainty you'll see amazing results. Now, I promise you that email address, and I'm happy to share with you anything I can. You're welcome to use the QR code or the email address that's on the screen there, but please reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you some more about these fabulous concepts. Thank you.